Cloak and Dagger, Season 2, Episode 1 Thoughts. This episode is called Restless Energy, another episode I love. Spoilers for everything MCU leading up to and including this episode. The episode is rated TV-14, so will this video be? Let's dive right in. So glad I'm back to watching this show. It hasn't even been that long. I get a little over 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. Yeah, anyway. Yes, so I really appreciate that this does not undo what season 1 did. You know, some of these shows are a little too eager to return to like a safe status quo or something, and no, you know, nothing nothing got fixed in the interim between the two seasons. You know, clearly some time has passed, but you know, yeah, the characters are roughly where they were. You know, Tyrone is still wanted for cop killing, you know, and I don't, yeah, I appreciate him wanting to do good. I don't think it's going to keep being, you know, by the end of this episode, it still hasn't gone completely wrong for him, but yeah. And let's see, Tandy is you know, back to ballet, which I feel like that it flows very naturally from where we left her. You know, she was back living with her mom. She, you know, cleared her dad's name. Roxanne is going to pay, so yeah. And let's see, yeah, I really appreciate. You know, I love that the show actually has characters talk to each other about their issues. I'm so sick and tired of media where, certainly where it's supposed to be like a good thing, where it's glorified that, you know, oh, the stoic, you know, no. These two need each other, and that's a good thing. That's a healthy thing. You know, everybody needs somebody else. And let's see, we have the I suppose that just about, yeah, I think I am going to go more or less scene by scene, not necessarily in chronological order. Right, I really appreciate that it's still doing the intercutting thing. I think it really, really works for the show. It gives it its unique identity. It's so different from the other live-action Marvel shows. If you know, it'll show what one of the two titular characters is doing, and then it'll show what the other one is doing, and yeah, cut back and forth, not just show several like minutes of one doing something and then minutes of the other doing something. And yeah, there are parallels being drawn. You know, whilst she is doing ballet, he is out, you know, doing vigilantism. And yeah, I mean, it is, you know, in season 1, early in season 1, they would do similar, but he was doing what he was supposed to, and she was out doing the wrong thing. So yeah, really appreciate, because it feels organic that they have, you know, she spent season 1 gradually getting into a better place. Not always completely, you know, it wasn't a completely straight line. You know, near the end, she was hitting rock bottom. But in season 1, you know, he started in a pretty good place, and yeah, gradually did take bigger and bigger risks, end up, you know, in worse situations, and yeah, you know, he has lost his support network, his family, his girlfriend, the priest, I want to say. For once, I'm not trying to criticize religion here. I genuinely don't remember if it's priest or father or what, you know, padre. Anyway, the, yeah, let's see, the, yes, so yeah, we open on that, and you know, she's doing a lot better than she did when she was a kid, which does also make me wonder if this, like, I don't think they said at any point in this episode, but I feel like this isn't just like 1 week after the events of the season 1 finale. And I just gotta say, I do not understand how anyone can stand doing ballet, like constantly being criticized. Just, yeah, couldn't be me. And let's see, we have the, yeah, really cool to see him so in control of his powers. And yeah, he says, well, I've been practicing, not like I got a lot of other stuff I can be doing right now. And yeah, some really cool little things with, you know, I really appreciate when like the camera holds on a shot and he disappears from part of it and reappears in without them cutting, you know, and yeah, it really feels like comic book framing. I've seen comics where, you know, yeah, we'll see, for example, teleportation, or sometimes it's super speed, but yeah, something like that in that kind of way. And just, yeah, it has a completely different effect than if you cut or if you move the camera to accommodate it or something. And yeah, you know, he does a really great job grabbing, you know, yeah, he and they great little bit of just like the camera, you know, pans down to show the bag being placed, pans back up, make sure, you know, they were careful to make sure the bag was out of frame, and the guy, you know, goes over to pick it up, camera pans down, it's gone, you know, very, very nicely done. And yeah, you know, in camera stuff like that, all it really takes is planning. It's not like it's not super expensive as far as filmmaking techniques go, you know. And yeah, you know, once he's stolen the money, they're a lot like, where's the money? And so he can teleport in, grab the drugs, and get away. Yeah. And let's see. Yeah. Yeah. One thing I will say about the ballet scene, and I do definitely think this is purposeful, the fact that we're seeing all this, you know, constant hypercriticism of Tandy. You know, we know that she is not the most happy about like being blamed for stuff and being, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not like criticizing that. You know, it's a neutral statement. The fact that she's putting up with all of that instead of like leaving, because it's not, you know, it's ballet class, you know, it's not like she's performing surgery or something where it would actually be terrible if she left. You know, this is a commitment she's made. Well, I suppose it might cost money, but you know, she's not going to kill someone by leaving, unless she does it right. But yeah, the fact that she puts up with all this hypercritical BS shows she really is trying to make the ballet thing work, which feels like it's in part for her mother, because this was some, you know, her mother really wants a stable life for Tandy. I forget, they probably said at some point in the first season whose whose idea it was for her. It might have been her own, but certainly it's just, you know, it's more stable than what she was doing. And yeah, the, you know, Tyrone goes to the I gotta name her Bridget, you know, and I appreciate. I gotta say, I did not expect her to return to some semblance of normality. I kind of like, based on the ending of season 1, but I do appreciate it would extremely limit what they could do, you know, with the character if it was just this, yeah. Um, and we do see like there's this. Oh, actually, or wait, was that just Tyrone? She was like sensing that he was teleporting near her, but otherwise it seemed like she was hearing something or seeing something, which I figure is part of the effects of, yeah. It's also not quite clear if she remembers that she was affected by it or how it ended, but maybe that'll come up later in the season. You know, there's like 9 more episodes of the season, so I'm not saying they have to answer everything, but yeah, the bit with, you know, he just teleports in and she's like understandably a little, you know, dude, do like Cole from Charmed, knock first. And yeah, yeah, you know, he's like thinking, oh, this, you know, this was good, right? And she's like, no, not really. This, this could actually cause some problems. And I do also wonder if she was the one who did, because at the end of the episode we see, I suppose it could have been one of the two gangs that just, but the fact that they were so careful to not show it, yeah, I can't help, because she knew what was taking place, I can't help but wonder if she showed up under the influence of the I'm gonna go ahead and call it gas. I forget exactly what they refer to it as. Yeah, sometimes you do things that you regret if you have gas. That's just, completely understandable. And let's see, I suppose that, yeah, and I do also really appreciate, there's a lot of vigilante media where it's like, you just gotta hit this one, individual or group and that'll solve everything. And no, it's just not that simple in real life. There's, yeah. And let's see, yeah, he's told about another gang, which, Bridget, you get that you're just, like, enabling him at this point, right? Don't tell him who to, like, I don't, she's not doing it on purpose. She doesn't realize that that's what's going on. She really does think that he's going to listen. And in her defense, he used to. He used to listen when authority figures told him, you gotta do this. You cannot keep doing that. So, yeah, but really, she just told him, like, she might as well have, like, painted a bullseye on that other gang's hideout. Like, it reminds me of that one bit in the I think it's called 1941. It's a 1979 movie. I feel like it was directed by Spielberg, which is surprising because it's not that good of a movie. But there is this part where I want to say it's Dan Aykroyd is, like, telling, he's like, this is very dangerous. This is artillery. You cannot use it. So what you must never do is insert a shell here and then turn this, that, he literally tells them, he's trying to convince them not to. Or Mr. Mackey passing a joint in class and then being surprised when he doesn't get it back. It's that sort of energy. Now, then the support group. See, do you ever find yourself, like, questioning your life choices, going like, why do I do this to myself? Like, just heartbreaking. The whole support group, Michaela, Jeremy thing, just like, I'm joking. There's a lot of catharsis in it, obviously, as well. But yeah, I do really appreciate stuff that is MCU adjacent, technically. The movies don't reference the show or Netflix and so on and so forth, but MCU adjacent stuff that actually makes you feel feelings, that isn't so safe and trying desperately to avoid getting too emotionally affecting, Yeah, the emotional intelligence on display. I can't believe I'm blanking on her name, but Tandy's mom, who currently does not have it going on. Well, more than she used to, anyway. And yeah, this thing of, like, wow, that song was toxic. So was the music video. Like, 90s, man. Seriously, there was some messed up media back then. Not that there's not still a lot, but I don't know. I feel like I have an easier time finding non-toxic media these days. It's, more recently made. Anyway, yeah, Tandy's mom is talking about, I thought I was helping, but it was just another rationalization. And this thing of, I thought I was breaking the cycle, and it is, like, literally, it is fact after fact. I can't do a passable Sean Locke, R.I.P. But literally every single word she says during that entire bit is 100% true. And I really appreciate, Tandy saying is heroic, and just for a second there, I was like, what do I think? You know, she's sitting there with crossed arms, you know, practically tapping her foot, like checking the watch that I don't have on my wrist right now, just like, how long is this gonna go on for? Mom, stop, you know. But no, after, you know, a few seconds she does, or yeah, at first it seems like she's gonna take it to a bad place, but she does say, I think that's very heroic, you know. And that is a great, like, because not all heroes wear capes, like Spider-Man, for example, except for that one bit in one of the Spider-Verse movies. But no, literally, if you are a good parent to your offspring, that is heroism. And let's see, you know, what was that thing? You know, parenting, if done right, can be a heroic act. I forget exactly where that's from, but yeah. The oh right. Amazings. Incredibles. I just wanted to see if someone would get like really annoyed. I guess if there's like a comment in the, you know, below this video that says that's not what the movie's called, I'll know that they didn't bother to see if I corrected myself within a second or two. Anyway, yeah, the let's see. Yes. Then we have Michaela, who's like, you know, do I have to say anything? You know, I'm just here because my friend said, you know, she would, you know, if I was gonna crash at her place, I had to go here. Which, that's a good ass friend. You know, that's just, yeah, 100%. Like, I'm not saying it's easy, but you know, nothing worth doing is easy. If it's right, then it's probably not easy. Being a good friend means calling out when you see your friend doing something wrong, you know, self-destructive or otherwise destructive. Yeah, you know, if you're gonna, because, you know, obviously, you know, she showed up and, you know, the friend could deduce there's something wrong, and yeah, she said, you know, Jeremy, yeah, she might have not even have to say anything other than Jeremy before the friend knew. And yeah, like, you know what? Yes, you can stay, you can crash here, but you are going to go to support group. I don't know what they call. Yeah. And you know, the such great little details. The fact that she, you know, she hurries up and covers the marks on her wrists. And again, like, that is not something you would see in one of the MCU movies, because and it, you know, on some level I can appreciate, you know, it's wanting to play it safe. I do sometimes play it safe myself, but the not always. Yeah, you know, we do see her marks, and she hurries up and covers them with her sleeves, you know. And you know, she doesn't even notice that she drops the wallet because she's so anxious about other people knowing that she has been abused. You know, it like, and just look at her body language, listen to the you know, what the actress is doing with her voice. Like, it's clear she doesn't want to be here, but she doesn't really have a choice, and she just wants to get it over with, you know, because she's not ready to admit that there's a problem, you know. And yeah, by the end of the episode, she still isn't. And I really hope that something horrible isn't going to happen to her. You know, on this show, it legitimately might, you know. But yeah, yeah, I love how mature and dark this show and the Netflix Marvel shows get. Certainly also, you know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though that also has a lot of MCU, you know, going on. And The Gifted could also get quite dark. And Legion goes without saying. Anyway, the like the mouth of a conservative political commentator. Yes, so the yes, the yeah, you know, she gives her the wallet back, and you know, she's taken a picture of it, and talking to her and yeah, actually, really empathizing with her. This thing about waitresses, and it's true. It's completely ridiculous. This thing of, if the waitress isn't deemed nice enough, or if you happen to run into, Mr. Pink and you don't get a tip, like, it's completely ridiculous. Now, let's see, I don't remember the exact order of scenes. I guess I'll stick with, yeah, so actually, never mind. Yeah, so let's see. I think the next thing might be Tyrone in the church, and, Tandy shows up, and yeah, I really appreciate that her being a good friend involves, like, I want to say, is it called petty theft? Because it's not, like, the most expensive stuff. But, yeah, old habits die hard. She's still stealing. And I really appreciate that the show shows stealing to help someone, not stealing. There's a lot of American media that suggests that if you steal, you are just this irredeemable, terrible person. You're just hurting people. You're stealing from people who can't afford to lose it, and you should feel terrible. And I'm not saying that there are no thieves like that out there, but there are a number of people, especially in these lower class neighborhoods, who steal just to get by. And yeah, it literally is, it's not like they're reselling these books. She's getting them to him so that he can keep up his education, so that he has a future once once his name has been cleared. And I do also appreciate, I mean, if hypothetically he hadn't, I'm gonna go with Cloaked, the cop that killed his brother, maybe he would have been able to get a confession and he would have had his name cleared. But at the time, he really badly wanted revenge, and now he's paying for it. He didn't kill the other cop. He was framed for that, but his choice to, because it did seem like he, I feel like he could have fought it. I don't know if he knew 100% it was going to happen, but like once he sees that something is happening, that he's creating a void in the cloak, and the cop is starting to, I feel like if he had teleported away or backed away from the cop or something like that, yeah, and yeah, choices have consequences, and I really appreciate media that acknowledges that. I don't think we need more media that just asserts that you can get away with doing something even if you think it's right. There's always going to be consequence. It doesn't always mean that it's something you absolutely shouldn't do, but it is important to acknowledge that there are consequences. And yeah, let's see. Yeah, once again, Tandy, such great dialogue. I'm not going to quote every single line, but yeah, just some really great stuff. And so does Tyrone. Note to self, Tandy does not appear to know what studying is. And let's see. And that was also very clever. At the start of the episode, she has stolen this, do y'all call it a dictaphone, or is that just a Danish thing? Anyway, voice recorder. And by the end of the episode, they're trying to use it to get, dirt on these gangs. So very nice bit of setup and payoff. I think that... Oh, wait, yeah, then we have, the movie, movie night, TV night. And, what, Tyrone is young. I'm going to let I'm going to allow the jab at VCRs. It's not like I still have mine. Or my collection of VHS tapes. I'm going to move on. And the thing with, yeah, you don't need to understand the words to follow old Zorro. I do hear that's the case. I don't think I watched the old Zorro. I think I knew of the character even before the Antonio Banderas movies. I think I watched the first of those, rather. Not the biggest fan, but I definitely did know the whole, yeah. When I was a kid, we got like um, see, I do not know what that kind of. I'm gonna just call it a blade. Zorro's blade. I got like one for when I was a kid as a present, and like there obviously it's not like sharp at the end because it's a kid's toy, but and I don't live in America, but instead it had like chalk on it, and my parents were not a fan of the chalk because what I'm not sure the people who made that toy realize is chalk, like, it's fine if it's a chalkboard, but if you're actually like drawing a Z on people's clothes, that can actually be a real hassle to get off, and obviously at least some kids are gonna try. I'm not gonna say if I was one because I honestly don't remember, but yeah, we removed the chalk almost immediately, and I just had to imagine that I was making Zeds because that's Zorro does carve Zeds into people's clothing at least sometimes. Anyway, I quite like Tandy calling him Zeppo instead. Was that one of the Marx brothers? Anyway, you know, Groucho, Carl. Anyway, yes, the Carl was the least funny of the Marx brothers, I feel like. Anyway, the do I have a right to make that joke? I haven't even read Theory. Anyway, yes. So yeah, the thing with you need a blade to make to write in letter, and she's like, lucky I got one. You're lucky I've got one, or something like that. And I also really just appreciate how much their relationship has grown. Like, it is in a completely different relationship, it is in a completely different place from like it's roughly where it was at by the end of season 1, but over the course of season 1 there was definitely some changes along the way. That's, again, like, I get that if you're telling a story in a comic book and it's like the origin story and you're trying to put a team, getting the band back together, yeah, you might need people to get along immediately and just agree. But when you have more running time and you're trying to make something perhaps more realistic, yeah, it just works really well to build to that. It would have felt completely out of character for both of them to just immediately, like, he can tell that she's trouble and doesn't want to get mixed up in trouble, and she's not the biggest fan of letting people get close to her, especially, he early season 1 Tyrone is giving narc vibes, Yeah, then Tandy goes to, yeah, she follows Michaela, and she goes back to Jeremy, and, you know, at the very start, it's like, oh, big hug, he's giving her a hug, but it doesn't seem to take very long before he, there's a cut there. I can't rule out that some time passed, but, certainly, wasn't terribly long. It was definitely the same night, another argument, and he comes across as very threatening, and she leaves. And so Tandy, like, I will say, at first I thought, is she gonna cut him, and yeah, like, some, yeah, there were parts of season 1 where she would have, but she's trying to not do, yeah. So she cuts parts of his place and carves in "Leave her alone," just like Zorro would have. And she makes sure to slam the door so he wakes up and immediately sees it. And we do see, like, he is not okay with that. It scares him, And I think the next scene might be Tyrone going to... Oh, right. I got... yeah, just briefly, I did want to talk about Bridget. I appreciate that now she's a terrible shot, and they do underline, it's not the shoulder. The doctor says it's, it's doing... it's back to where it was before. The season 1 finale, I think it was, when she... Yeah. And it's not the sidearm either, and she doesn't seem to think, like, she doesn't seem to have PTSD, for example, so, yeah, something is going on, and I'm thinking it's gas, depending on what she ate. And, let's see, then we have so back to, Tyrone hits the other gang, and I will say, I'm glad that I know this, because otherwise it would have... I would have thought that it was like some kind of, cheesy misogynist, thing of like, let's sexualize some young women. So far the show really hasn't been, it doesn't really go overboard on that. There's been a little bit, but by and large, it's, if there is some kind of sexual situation, it's there for some purpose, but... The fact that these women are in their underwear when they're dealing with the drugs, that is an actual thing that places like that do in real life. And if I understand correctly, it is in order to make it impossible for them to hide any of it, and yeah, so that's... And it's not like the camera is ogling them, it's very neutrally shot, it's just, that's the way it is, and that is, like... I am sex positive. I'm not against showing sexuality. I just don't want it to be just like male gazy kind of, Also appreciate that Tandy talked Tyrone into taking his shirt off, like, yeah, I do think that the girls and the gays and, yeah, should also get to look at, like, the show doesn't do a ton of it for women, but... there's a little, so there should be some for where it's men as well. I also really appreciate, the way the ballet practice was shot was also not, like, ogling. And again, like, what they were wearing, from what I understand, that is what you would wear if you were practicing ballet. It's, they're not in, like, lingerie or something ridiculous. And let's see. Yeah, so yeah, Tyrone is hitting the other place. And he got a little cocky, and I really like that when Tandy's like, so, what was that, and he's like, or what happened? He's so devoted to this vigilantism thing that he thinks she's asking, where did you go wrong tactically? And then she said, no, I mean, what happened to laying low, but yeah, he ends up needing her help, and I do also appreciate, she's like, also, you're welcome, and afterwards he does thank her, and he pushed it too far, and that is also something you see with, if someone does the wrong thing for too long, they might end up, getting arrogant, thinking, oh, I can just push this as far as, and they end up going too far, and... I don't know. I appreciate some people might think Tyrone isn't going too far enough. Now, and I appreciate, when they are, like, kicking him, they're like, keep kicking him. He doesn't teleport away, as far as I can tell, he does need to be able to focus at least a little bit. Like, earlier, it was enough for him to be, like, afraid, but... Yeah, I don't know, it didn't come across to me like he should have been able to just teleport away there. And I feel like, they probably wouldn't have been able to keep him forever. Eventually he'd be able to teleport, but what if they, like, shoot him or break a leg or an arm or something? Especially if they shoot him. Where is he going to get medical attention? And if you get shot, you need medical attention. without the doctor reporting it to the police. And that's, yeah. So yeah, and Tandy, I quite like the fact that they trust the audience enough to, we see like these shelves tip over, and then we see her, and they don't think the audience is going to be like, I don't understand what happened. No, like she cut the legs off the shelf, or legs, whatever, to make it fall over. And let's see, yeah, she manages to get him out, and yeah, she points out, you're still a really horrible liar. Yeah, and that is the thing. Like she said in season 1, when you become a really good liar, you also get good at detecting other, you develop a lie detector. And yeah, I really appreciate neither of them are ready to, I guess it's especially him that's not quite ready in the church to be mature about it. And they do make up not very long after that, but yeah, he's a human being. He really hates the, yeah. Let's see. The is this the scene where they also talk about the let's see. But yeah, some harsh words are exchanged. I forget if this is the scene, but at one point, he talks about, he's been checking up on people, and I also really appreciate, we see him check up on both of his parents separately, that, yeah, I can imagine that the strain of not knowing where Tyrone is, if he's safe, like, they probably had some arguments, and, one of them was saying, we have to, this... One of them took Tyrone's side more than the other, maybe. They know that he got in trouble with the police. And I can imagine that one of them is like, you have to do what the police says, and the other one was like, sometimes the police are wrong. And yeah, these are the kinds of things that can really strain a relationship. And, he checks on Evita, but, thankfully doesn't go too far with it. And yeah, this thing of, guy walks up to her and she rebuffs him, doing homework. And, yeah, you can tell she does miss Tyrone. And again, they don't feel the need to have, like, her saying to one of her friends, has anybody seen Tyrone? I really miss him, or something. We can tell from her face, And let's see, yeah, he tells Tan, I've been checking up on people I care about. You fall into that category. What are you doing? How can you, don't act all high and mighty. Oh, I get to be super high and almighty. Just like, yeah, I really enjoy her lines. But yeah, he points out, you have also been doing vigilantism. You cut the axle of the car. I'm really hoping axle is a part of a car and not like a person inside the car. And yeah, we're told, it wasn't her, it was her husband. And I'm thinking, yeah, if she didn't sabotage the car or stab Axel, this woman would have gone back to her husband, driven back to her husband, and he would have abused her. So yeah. And oh, right, oh, holy crap, I'm glad I forgot at first, but I remembered. I love that, as again, the inner cutting on the show, just chef's kiss. During Tandy carving the warning into Jeremy's walls, we hear they've been in general doing a good job. They did a good job in the first season as well with like voiceover, and on more than one occasion it was like school stuff. We hear Tyrone explain thermodynamics, I think it was, but this thing of like, it's going to cause more chaos, and yeah, because it's one of those things, like, even without the voiceover, we would probably guess this is not going to end well. But I do appreciate them, like, it didn't feel like unsubtle to me. Now that, I think, brings it, yeah, he goes and right, yes, yes, both of the titular characters are trying to get rid of all the pent-up tension, and it's not quite working. You see her accidentally making daggers as she's practicing ballet by herself, and you see him, using the basketball, and clearly, yeah, neither of them, it's just not quite getting there. And yeah, it is that thing, like, he did stop that cop, but there's still gonna be trauma and pain there. His brother's not back, and his name hasn't been cleared. He even says, he's angry at the world, so yeah, and he's trying to get rid of it by going out and yeah, finding people to hurt. And obviously the the vast majority of us are not vigilantes. I'm not a vigilante, so far as you know. And the okay, fine, I used to be, the overanalyzer, but those days are behind me. Yes, yeah, in real life, you might accidentally take out your frustration on someone who didn't cause it at all, or at least you might go too far. You might, let out all of your frustration from multiple people on one person. And let's see, yeah, and she also admits, she still has issues over her father, which she hasn't had a lot of time to process the fact that he was abusive. She found that out fairly late in season 1, hasn't had very much time to... Although, no, yeah, by the end of season 1, she did seem like she was in somewhat of a better place, but yeah, she was pushing it away, and if you do that, if you don't process it, eventually it's gonna come to the surface. You're gonna have to deal with it, and that's what we're seeing here. She's still trying not to deal with it directly, And I do appreciate, yeah, she's in the support group, but it's still not quite enough, and that's also, support group is not immediately going to solve it. It can be a huge part of it. Support groups are a wonderful thing, but it's still, yeah. And let's see, then we have the, yeah, I have 3 things to say, First of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, thank you for saving my life. And third of all, I like that she, like there's a brief pause there, and she could have said, "You're forgiven, and you're welcome." I suppose she did already say you're welcome, but that was more of a sarcastic thing. But no, she's, for now, just like, she appreciates it, but, yeah. And yeah, the thing, I need your help. And I really appreciate that, yeah, the episode makes, I suppose, especially with the, when she confronts him about, what happened, when he actually talks to her, she does, she listens, and they communicate, at first the communication is not the most mature, but I really appreciate media that acknowledges so much of the time the women in our lives, they just don't want us to shut them out. They want to be let in. They don't want to, like, complain. They just, it's, I hate this misogynist trope of like, oh, women just like to complain. No, there's just a lot of men who do things that force women into the role of having to complain. Like, if you find yourself avoiding something that a woman in your life really wants you to do, ask yourself, why am I avoiding this? you know. And like at the end of the day, like if you don't really want this woman in your life, you know, I mean, maybe, you know, if it is a relationship that makes sense to end, or maybe limit how much time you spend together, maybe do that. But don't just not do a thing that she expresses she really wants, maybe even needs you to do, and then get mad when she expresses frustration at that. And again, there's so much media, so much American media that reinforces this lie, you know. So I really appreciate media that confronts it and acknowledges the truth. And let's see, yeah, you know, they go on the mission together after she addresses his fashion emergency. And the let's see, yeah, I do appreciate, like, it was pretty gratuitous to show his chest. Like, they could have just had him already be wearing that shirt, you know, or like she throws it to him, the camera stays on her, and then we see him having put it on. So yeah, I appreciate, again, you know, I don't think there's any real problem with, you know, doing that sort of thing for women and gays who have been denied that kind of thing in so much media that caters to the male gaze. That's GAZE. Now, I think, yeah, you know, another really great conversation between them. I think I've covered most of what they say in this scene already. And let's see, yeah, you know, they leave for the club, and you know, yeah, he teleports in, places the thing, and I really love the tension and suspense, because we know, you know, eventually that guy's gonna check under the table. Obviously, it's too, you gotta, you know. And we didn't see Tyrone disappear, but when the guy checks, Tyrone is gone, because he teleported out, you know. It's not impossible, but we were a little worried that he was gonna end up staying there for too long. And let's see, yeah, when they, you know, okay, so now we just, you know, now we wait. Now we play the waiting game. And, you know, if we get bored with that, Hungry Hungry Hippos. And she's like, are you saying that you're stuck in a drinks and dance place with nothing to do but have fun? What are you going to do? You know, just, yeah. And yeah, he does actually dance. He does enjoy himself. We see him briefly with, you know, there's this woman who, like, flirts with him, and he's, like, uncomfortable because he still does want to be with Evita, you know. And let's see, right, before the club scene, we have the thing about, you know, so this hasn't been laundered in a while, and he's like, yeah, I mean, how do I get out to do laundry, you know? And this is the thing about, you know, so next time you're at St. Seb's, could you maybe steal some, you know, underwear? I think it was, you know, some clean clothes, something like that, you know. And let's see, yeah, so the club, yeah, and also the line, you know, I don't drink, I'll drink for both of us, which I literally, right before she started to say that line, the moment he had said, I don't drink, I knew she was going to say that, you know, just I knew you'd say that. And yeah, I mean, that is an upgrade for her. At least she's not snorting pills. That was also, you know, I really appreciated her saying, you know, I hear the last person who lived here went a little stir crazy, which, yeah, you know, that is it's a good way for her to be like, are you sure you're okay? And without being like, you know, making it about her pain, because right now it's about him, you know. And let's see, yeah, the let's see, oh, right, also the signal, you know, hand signal with the light was also a clever touch. And yeah, you know, they realize, oh, the meeting's about to start. Oh, that's good, right? Tandy, did you forget what show you're on? This is not very many good things happen on this show. And yeah, you know, we see, you know, blood spray on the window. Again, really appreciate how dark this show gets. You'd never see that kind of thing. Maybe not never, but it's more unusual much more unusual in the MCU movies. And yeah, they pretty quickly get in there, well, not counting the slow motion. And yeah, everyone's dead. And yeah, this is not going to end well. This is like, I mean, I don't know, gang war? Is that what they're, and which I really appreciate, because yeah, the it's different from the first season, and it does feel like something that could happen in this world. And yeah, he, like, Tyrone has not been careful enough. He keeps doing, doing it this way when, and yeah, at the same time, you can appreciate, yeah, he's like, how long do, this 14-year-old drug runner, how long does he have to wait for justice, And I will say, when he said, for Lady Justice to do her thing, for a second I was like, is that a direct reference to Bridget, or is he, nah, probably not. Now, that pretty much does cover... Yeah, and I really appreciate, he would feel a personal urge to stop drugs, because of his brother. And yeah, he's, on some level, he still blames himself for the death of his brother. And, he can only hate himself so much. He'd rather go out and do something, and what he can do something about is drugs. He already got rid of the cop, not cup. If he had been shot with a cup, that probably would have done significantly less damage. Unless it was fired by, like, a t-shirt cannon, I guess. But yeah. Right, also the part where Bridget, gets the phone call, which also, like, I felt tread right on the line, occasionally stepping into, like, there was a little bit where she's, like, doing crap, what was it called? Bob Newhart thing of, like, repeating what the other person said. No, I know, I understand there are consequences. Yes, I do appreciate that yeah, that was, but a lot of the time you could deduce what was being said on the other end. And yeah, and I like that, no, I do think that was very foolish, in case someone is listening. And yeah, I definitely think there will be consequences, Ty. That was, yeah, that was pretty good. And yeah, yeah, really looking forward to more. Yeah, gonna try to make it tomorrow with the next episode. And yeah, really, yeah, this is looking to be another great season. Right, yeah. They do a really great job. Yeah, okay, so we get a new status quo. Very clear. It's easy to tell where the characters are compared to last time. When we left them, where we left them at the end of season 1. We get some hints of, I feel like we have not seen the last of Tandy, using the support group to find people to help. I definitely think we'll see more of Michaela and Jeremy. And yeah, okay, yeah. And yeah, this idea of, like, a gang war of, like, the criminals, because yeah, in season 1 it was Roxxon, and it was the cop that ended up getting cloaked, who were the big, like, antagonistic forces. And here it seems like it might be, I figure Bridget would probably end up being an antagonist, and other than that, the gangs. And yeah, it was so heartbreaking to see Michaela back, and, like, at first you're like, she did it. She worked up the nerve to just leave Jeremy. Because I feel like her friend sounds like she would, like, no, you can stay for as long as you need, as long as that guy is not, he is not getting in here under any circumstances, and I don't want to see you leave with him either, but no, the reason she's happy is because she thinks that it's healthy to stay with him. And that's, again, that's absolutely, and you know, it's not an accurate assessment by her, but it is accurate to abuse. You know, that there are these, you know, that is something you know, if you look into abuse, you'll find a lot of abuse survivors, you know, there's a while where they make excuses for the person, and and that was also, you know, she didn't say he hurt me, she said it got, what was it, it got a little out of hand, or we just had an argument or something like that. You know, she wouldn't directly confront. I mean, he left marks on her, you know, they weren't just talking. And you know, and it was like her wrists, like, it's, you know, it's a sensitive area of the body, and it's scary. Like, I you know, the way I see it, like, I figure he probably grabbed her and like pulled her clothes, like she was trying to remove herself from the situation, he grabbed her, you know, prevented her from leaving. You know, that's really, really messed up. And you know, she said he wasn't responding to her messages. And again, like, when she said that, I was like, and that's when she decided that, you know, if he's not even going to respond to messages, he's not, you know, he doesn't even care if this works out or not. But no, she went to check on him, which again, like, you can understand, but then, you know, yeah, she thinks he's a victim now. And you know, he apparently claimed, oh, you know, a gang attacked with axes and a chainsaw. You know, I don't know, firefighters, maybe they were, maybe someone was there to kill zombies or something. Maybe they watched the season 1 finale and were worried there were still gas people around. I don't know. And you know, I appreciate that some might say, well, what about, you know, what did he say about it being written on, you know, that it was carved into the wall, leave her alone? For one thing, when you're being abused, you're willing to make up excuses. And you know, I could see how, you know, maybe he said, you know, they think I'm after one of their girlfriends, but I'm not. You know, we knew each other years ago, I haven't had contact with her, you know, something like that. Yeah. And Tandy, like, confront, you know, she's like, Michaela, are you sure that's what happened? Because she, like us, like the viewer, it's like, please, Michaela, you know, this is so, such self-destructive behavior. You can't go back to an abuser. You know, that is the thing. Like, the don't stay and wait for the abuser to improve. You are not wrong for leaving the abuser. If down the line they prove, actually, no, yeah, you know what? I'm not even sure you should ever go back. You know what? I don't feel qualified to say if you should ever go back. I do feel qualified to say you are not wrong for leaving. You know, the moment that the person starts abusing you, especially physically, but honestly verbally is bad enough, you are not under any obligation to stay. You know, if you want, you know, maybe try to like get someone else to try to help the person, but the abuser is going to keep abusing until, you know, he, or you know, or she or they are, you know, so for a lot it has to be something big, you know. Yeah, I'm not, I don't feel qualified to say whether or not you should ever return, but there are, you know, if you're in a situation like that, there are resources out there that can answer that question. I am not going to speak on it. Now, let's see. I was operating off like a general, I believe in forgiveness, but that is not the same thing as saying, you know, there is such a thing as being beyond forgiveness. And yeah, let's see. But yeah, you know, and not only does Michaela insist that his story is true, then she says, who would do something like that? And just like, and it's such a great little moment, because one thing that it accomplishes is it communicates that that's where Michaela's at. She is completely on his side. But another it does is also communicate to Tandy and the audience, it does look scary. You know, vigilantism, you know, like a number of vigilantes do have good intentions, but if, you know, just think about what it looks like to people who aren't the perpetrators. You know, it's one thing that, you know, the perpetrators themselves putting the fear in them, you know, as Bullseye intends to do, but you know, someone who's innocent might see it, and it might make them scared. They might think, you know, could that happen to me or someone else innocent? And they might not realize how bad the person is. You know, you might actually make things slightly worse. You might make the perpetrator look like a victim, you know. So I really appreciated that they addressed that, and yeah, so glad that this show exists. Yeah, I hope to catch you when I do a video on the next episode. Hopefully tomorrow, I guess we'll see. And yeah, until then.